Well, welcome to Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and we're ready to go right here with some of the great stories from the horse industry. So join us as we get ready to go speaking of horses right here on this station. Well, hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses, and today my guest is Christina Hanson. Now, Christina is a longtime carriage driver in New York City for the horse-drawn carriages in and around Central Park and around New York City. And also, she is a spokesperson for the Association of the Horse Carriage Drivers and works closely with the New York State Horse Council on many issues. And of course, the reason we're talking to Christina today is there's been a lot of controversy going on about the carriages who have operated for centuries in New York and around Central Park, and attempts to take them off the streets. So, Christina, welcome, and just tell us a little bit about the history, first of all, of the carriages and the horses in New York City.
Well, the carriages in New York City have actually been regulated by, you're correct, and we've been around for centuries. We've been regulated by the city since at least 1813. That was really the beginning of our business, and also the taxi business in New York. And when Central Park was opened in 1858, it was designed to be seen from the back of a carriage. The carriage drive in the park, everything about it was designed for carriage driving, and even if you weren't riding in a carriage, it was designed to be seen with horses moving through it. And as public cabs, we very quickly became the way for people, even those people who weren't wealthy enough to own their own horses, which is most people, to come to the park and see it the way it was meant to be seen. So we have been parking on Central Park South, 59th Street, southern end of the park, the entrance of the park, for 160 years, with the express purpose of being a public conveyance, public cab, to take people through the park and show them the park the way it's meant to be seen. So we've been regulated by the city ever since. Most of our major regulations about when the horses can work, what temperatures they can work at, they've been put in place in the past 30 to 40 years. But we are extensively regulated. We're overseen by 5 city agencies, and we are one of the most iconic tourist attractions in New York City.
Well, that is so true, and you know, one of the things that I look for, the trips I make into Manhattan from time to time, is I love making my way down there to that southern end of the park, very close to where the Plaza Hotel is located, and there's a whole area there where you gather, you know, and it's just a gorgeous setting to go up through there and then head down into the park, and it is just such an iconic part of New York.
Yeah, we really, I mean, that plaza area there was actually the original parking lot for the park. That's what Olmsted intended it for. And, yeah, I thought we are the big welcome billboard outside the park to kind of draw people in. That's actually an element of Olmsted's design. And I talked to people that have dentist appointments on Central Park South, and I talked to multiple people who say the only good thing about going to the dentist is they can come and they can walk past the horses there on the sidewalk and pet them and talk to the drivers and maybe give the horse a carriage before they have to go and get their teeth cleaned.
Well,
so we're not just for the tourists, we're for the locals too, you know, that love having the horses there.
Well, see, the thing to me, as not being a New York City resident, I mean, I grew up in Indiana, live in Wisconsin, but the thing that is iconic to me as you go there, and first of all, if you're not from the area or have not traveled there frequently, you do not realize the immense size of Central Park. It's big.
843 acres.
Right, it's big. Number 2, there are rock formations, hills, ponds. It looks, you know, right as where you go in, there are quite a few rock formations right where you guys gather. And it just is not what you expect. If you haven't really seen it, you would not believe that you are in Manhattan. It is a completely removed area, and you guys are such a part of that. And all of the people who reside there, who have very small apartments or very small rooms, In my estimation, what we consider small is not small at all when you compare it to the size of things in Manhattan. And this is the one place that they can go and enjoy some of the other parts of the world that they wouldn't get to see at all otherwise.
Yeah, it really is Manhattan's backyard, and we're a part of it. We're a part of sort of bringing nature to the city. For many people, children and even adults, the carriage horses on Central Park South are the only horses they might ever see, besides maybe a police horse.
Right. Now, tell us a little bit about this current battle that's going on in an attempt to remove these horses from the area.
Right. So the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, he was elected back in 2013, took office in 2014, and his campaign promise was to ban carriage horses from New York City's first day in office. He got a lot of support, literally millions of dollars, directly and indirectly, from a group called NYCLASS, New York Class, New Yorkers for Clean, Livable, and Safe Streets. They are both an extreme animal rights organization that's funded by real estate developers. So they have a lot of money to spend. That money has granted them access to the mayor. And they have ties with PETA and all of those things too. So these are just people that think that you're a slave owner if you own a dog or a cat, or that you're torturing a horse if you ride them with a bit. And they have a lot of money, a lot of influence, but they couldn't get the carriage horses banned. The mayor couldn't do it. New Yorkers overwhelmingly love their carriage horses, and there just simply wasn't any well-regulated business. So the city council more or less told the mayor, no, you can't do this. And then he decided he was going to have a scheme where he was probably going to put us out of business by cutting our industry in half with the promise of a future stable built in the park. And the city council told him, no, you can't do that. So the mayor came back this fall and said, I have an idea. I'm going to use the DOT, the Department of Transportation, and their agency with a commissioner that I appointed to just simply move those hack stands off of 59th Street, off of Central Park South, off of the plaza, and stick them in the park where they weren't intended to be. And then I can say I got the horses off the street, out of traffic. And the reality is that, to the average person that doesn't know a whole lot about horses, I said, oh, this is good. Horses belong in parks. It's going to have trees. It's going to be quieter. There won't be trucks and buses. Well, our horses don't mind the trucks and buses. They don't mind being in the city. They're quite comfortable where they are in Central Park South. And they certainly like the attention from everybody passing by. It's where they're used to standing. What they're not going to like is being moved inside the park all at once into places they're not used to standing, places that weren't designed for horses to stand. They were designed for horses to drive along, places that are going to be on a slope where they can't rest, where they'll be pointed downhill, having to hold up the weight of the carriage, places that they're going to be trapped between curbs and can't leave if they need to pull out of line, and most importantly, places where people won't really be able to see them. Right now, our billboard for our business is Central Park South. If they're way inside the park, and the Animal Rights Act will say, oh, we're not moving them very far, nobody goes into the park after it gets dark if they don't know where they're going. They take a carriage ride to go through the park at night. Right. But they can access the carriage during when they're outside the park and then go into the park.
Well,
so
go ahead.
We view this as an attempt by the mayor and those animal rights activists / real estate developers at New York Class, a political special interest group, as a means under the guise of helping horses. What they're really doing is they're putting the horses in a position that's bad for them, because right now there's nothing wrong with our business. It works perfectly fine, to mess up the way our business works and to hurt our business, because their ultimate goal is not to help horses, to end the carriage industry and ultimately all horse use.
Well, you know what's amazing to me, and I can relate this having been by right where you gather there at the entrance to the park. physically walking in and out of the park there to go to the Central Park Horse Show a couple of years ago. Right. Is that number one, you are really not out in the streets per se. You're kind of off in that pull-off area. You're really not in the way, and you do most of your work up into the park anyway. But there are just all of these things, and also the fact that a lot of people do not realize that horses doing these jobs, it's good for the horse. The person who complains that you shouldn't do this with a horse and make him do this or make him do that is the same person that spends a lot of money to go to a gym and exercise their body and tax it to a point they say that physical activity is good, but don't do it to the horse. So,
I know it's amazing to us how city folk in particular, not all city folk by any means, but a certain group of people have become so dissociated from horses in everyday life that they think that they are these fragile beings that can't be outside, it's either too sunny, or it's too cold, or it's too wet, or it's too windy.
I know. And they were built to be outside animals.
Right.
And if they have good shelter from wind and shelter from, snow or rain, so they can get in under something and out of the weather, so to speak, they can survive. Even here in Wisconsin, we were as much as 30 below zero just a few weeks ago. As long as they have the proper shelter, they don't need to be in anything heated. Just get them in the proper area, and their body will survive. That's how they're built.
Well, now, most horse people laugh when they hear that, like, in New York City, by law, if we're just standing around in our stands, we have to blanket our horses if it's below 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Horse people argue all the time about when you should blanket and when you shouldn't.
Well, we also understand that the city is trying to get you inside the park. That's supposed to happen very shortly. And we understand that there are some very immediate concerns on weather restrictions they're trying to change to make it difficult. Christina, to help you, how do people contact you for help?
Well, you can visit our website. It's www.carriageon.com.
Well, that's our show. I'm your host, Wayne Williams. Speaking of horses, we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Or join us at speakingofhorses.com.